Hi everyone, this is Jess Findlay. I'm a professional nature photographer from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and today I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a lesson in Adobe Camera Raw, and this will also work over in Adobe Lightroom as well. And the image that I picked to work on today is a bald eagle in flight that I took earlier this winter just outside of Vancouver. And what I want to show you guys on this image today is how we can use some very localized adjustments within Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom that can help you bring back some life to this raw image and make it look a little more realistic. I've shot this image quite bright. You can see up here on the right hand corner of the screen we've got the histogram, and you can see on the right side we've shot things just to the point where the whites are quite bright, but they're not actually losing any detail. There's no highlights that are clipping in this image. And in turn, if we look to the left side of the histogram, we can see that we have plenty of detail available to us in the darker areas of the image. And by using this technique of shooting to the right of your histogram, this leads to far more detail in your raw file to work with. But sometimes what will happen is your image will turn out to look a little bit flat, or perhaps just lacking that sort of richness to it. So you have to go into your raw processor, whatever you use. Today, as I mentioned, I'm using Adobe Camera Raw, and I'm going to use some adjustments here to try to tone down some of those areas that are starting to look a little bit flat. And one of the areas specifically that we're going to be targeting here on this image is the sky in the background. We've got a partially cloudy sky that's moving from quite pale blue-gray to a deeper blue on the upper right here. So we really want to bring back some of the richness to the sky and bring it back to how I saw it in the field in that specific day. The end goal with my post-processing is bringing a lot of realism to the shot and bringing a very natural look to the image to give my viewers the sort of experience of seeing this beautiful eagle in the wild. So what we're going to do to bring back some of that realism is we're going to go into our luminance adjustment in the HSL grayscale tab. But before we go there, I'm going to just quickly breeze through a couple of the basic adjustments here in the basic tab here. So I'm going to just quickly drop the highlights down and bring up the shadows. Just give ourselves a little bit more latitude to work with when we go on to do our more specific adjustments. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head over to the HSL Grayscale tab. And for those of you who aren't familiar with HSL, that stands for Hue, Saturation, and Luminance. The first one that we have here is Hue. And this isn't something that I use very often. This is actually changing the color of the color. And you can see here with these sliders, they're specific to each color channel within the image. And you can change the reds, for example, to be more magenta or more orange. You can change the greens to be a little bit more to the yellow side, or perhaps a little bit more to the sort of cyan blue side. And the blues you can change to be more purple or more cyan. So using these without being overly conservative, you can start to get into some issues with having your images look a little bit surreal. And actually changing the color so much that it really does not look natural anymore. So this isn't something that I typically use with my images. But if we move to the two other tabs, which is within this little adjustment here, we have the saturation and we also have the luminance. With regards to the saturation, this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's basically just how vivid the color is going to be. So if we take the blue channel, for example, here, and we pump this all the way up to 100, you can see immediately how this really starts to make things look very vibrant. And this is quite an aggressive adjustment, not something that we're going to stick with, but you can definitely use this to start to pump up the colors a little bit more. Typically, your raw file is going to be a little bit lackluster, so you want to give things a little bit of a once-over here and bring back a little bit more of that color that may have been lost in your raw file. So that takes care of that. We basically will just give some of the colors that are present in this image a little boost. But the main one that we're going to focus on here is going to be the luminance adjustment. And what luminance is actually how bright or dark a specific color is within the image. So if we want to darken down the blue, in this image, which is going to be the sky, we can simply take this slider and start to drop it down. And again, we're going overboard here, but this just goes to show what an amazingly, this adjustment really can do a lot for your image. And by using it in moderation, we can really do some amazing things and bring things back down to a more natural level and start to retain and bring back some more of that detail that we may have lost by shooting things a little bit brighter. So you can see here a little before and after of that blue adjustment. You can really tell how much that sky has changed and how much more natural it looks and how much more realistic things are starting to look. We could even get into the yellows and the oranges here. If we wanted to go up to the yellow channel, we could drop that down a little ways, and that will help to bring back some richness in the bill and also bring back some more detail in these brighter areas of the bird's plumage. By adjusting the orange tab, we can start to see some of that detail come back, or some of that richness, I should say, in the dorsal side of the bird's wings and some of the chest feathers here. And you can see here that we're not going too crazy with these adjustments. We're not cranking these all the way to 100. That'll start to get you into trouble with things looking a little bit unnatural or having some weird sort of halos and color separation. But by using these in moderation, you can really set your images off and really help bring things back from these sort of drab colors found in a raw file to something that looks a little bit more like real life. And again, we'll do a preview for you here, before and after. And even though it is quite a dramatic adjustment, this really restores that natural look to the photo and brings it down to the point where it pops but doesn't look overly dramatic. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you'll have a chance to work on your own pictures and play around with these luminance adjustments, and being a little bit more selective and localized with your adjustments. I know that will reward you with really realistic and natural looking images. If you have any other questions about this technique, or if there's a certain technique you'd like me to cover in a future video here in Photoshop or Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom, just leave a comment in the box below. And I hope this has really helped you guys, and I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, thanks for watching.